Welcome to Course 3, Unit 3. In the previous 2 units, we introduced all the different development stages of an international standard and the levels of consensus that need to be reached for that document to be published. In this unit, I'll tell you which stages are mandatory and which can be skipped, and you'll get an idea of how long it takes to publish an international standard. Before going further, make sure you understand the development stages and how we build consensus from the previous 2 units. So you may have been thinking that there are a lot of steps in the development of an ISO standard, and whether we really need them all. The answer is no. In some cases, not all the stages are required. This slide shows all the stages of development. The stages in black can, in some cases, be skipped, while the red ones are mandatory. For instance, all projects need to be proposed and accepted, so the new work item proposal is in red. Likewise, the draft international standard is red because it represents a high level of consensus being reached and can never be missed. The final draft international standard is coloured red because it's mandatory if there are technical changes resulting from the DIS ballot. If there are only editorial changes following the DIS ballot, then it can be published without going through an FDIS ballot. At the beginning of your project, you would have made a project plan based on the overall development track of the project. This includes target dates, the most important of which are the DIS ballot and the FDIS ballot, if you need to have one. If you miss these targets, many stakeholders will be questioning why the document is not being balloted yet, and it might also create potential problems for processing within ISO Central Secretariat, and even affect the scheduling of any promotional activities that are planned for the project. As well as the vital target dates shown in red, it's always good practice to also set target dates for earlier stages. This helps you to keep the project on track to ensure those later targets and the eventual publication date can be met. Just so you don't forget, this shows again the stages where it is important to have a defined project plan in place so you can make sure the project stays on track. We've been through all the stages of developing an ISO standard, and it seems like this must take a really long time, right? Well, in some cases it does. But in other cases it can be very quick, particularly when the committee exercises good project management. Let's start at the beginning with the preliminary stage. As you know, this is optional and is a mechanism for getting a project listed in the work programme, so that an initial draft can be developed. It is allowed to stay at this stage for up to 3 years, after which time it will be automatically cancelled if nothing is done with it. If the committee does proceed with the project, and it is approved at the new project ballot, this is when the development track of 18, 24, 36 or 48 months is set, and the clock starts counting down to that eventual publication date. Always keep in mind that with careful planning and good time management, some stages can be skipped, so your project can get to the finish line faster. In the next unit, we will look in a bit more detail at what actually happens at each step.